Happy Friday, everyone. It is the eve of Texas going up to Nashville and facing the top 25, 5-2 Vanderbilt Commodores. You are listening to the sound of those who expound on the table that is round. Justin Wells, Ian Boyd, Eric is here in spirit. Gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Blessed.
Hashtag blessed from Justin Wells. Ian?
Ready for some Nashville.
Like it.
Ian? I've been waiting for the kids to bring home sickness, and it has finally come.
It is that time of the year. The weather's gotten a little cooler. The kids are going to start basically being little bacteria factories. Hey, if you like this conversation, join our YouTube channel. Subscribe and make sure you watch. We've got content up every day. Sometimes we got a couple of things up every day. And make sure you go join Inside Texas. That's where the best conversation about the Texas Longhorns happens. And the best conversation about the Longhorns is about to happen right now. I might have oversold that and we might underdeliver, but I trust you gentlemen to bring it. All right. I want to talk about Quinn Ewers. I don't know if he's ever been a topic of conversation recently or ever at the University of Texas, but we're going to break new ground and talk about the quarterback. So Quinn didn't have his best week, his best Saturday last week. Justin, what's he going to do to break out of the slump, and not the way that you break out of slumps, Justin? We're talking about it in a football sense.
Yeah. He's going to get back on the horse. This has happened to him before. I talked to somebody close to him a couple of days ago, and whenever this does happen, he's got to climb back on that horse. He's a cowboy, and that's how you do it. You've got to get better. He could have played a lot better, but it was also complimentary. The offensive line could have played a lot better. The run game could have been established. There's a lot of things that could have been fixed, and I don't think Sark focused solely on Quinn Ewers when he was talking about that this week. And so this is going to be that week that Quinn jumps back in on the horse, back on the saddle, and gets back into it. Look, he's like any other person. Once he gets confident, it starts to flow again. And we've seen that, Quinn Ewers. We've seen that he's 4-0 coming off of a loss. We've seen that he's put together good games. And he is going to hit road bumps. Georgia was a big road bump. And so you just want to make sure you get him back on track. Like, this team's only going to go as far as he takes him in a sense. And so I think that's why Sark knows we got to get him right. And I think there was a lot of little things to fix. Not just tools, not just the offense, but his fundamentals, stepping up, stepping into the ball, things of that sort. They went over a lot of that stuff this week. And so it doesn't matter what Quinn does in practice in my eyes. It only matters what he does on Saturdays. And he's done everything he's supposed to practice-wise this week. Now he's just got to put it together. He's got a team that believes in him. But I do think there's been a shift in this program's identity. I think before Georgia, we thought this was an offensive team that had a really good defense. Now I think we realize this is a defensive team with a pretty good offense, and I think that's kind of the new shift in the locker room as well.
I like that. And for those of you who are in the chat, thank you for joining us. Good morning. And we heard from Big Jake. Quinn is the man, trust in Sark. Justin is absolutely right. So you got the stamp of approval from Big Jake. I need to find out later if that's my son, and he's actually
that might be your kid.
He could be playing hooky from school right now, and I both admire that and also need to discipline that. Ian, talk to me. What does Mr. Ewers need to do?
In the back half of the Georgia game, I found a couple throws where Quinn stepped up in the pocket, and as a result, he hit throws down the field in the intermediate game, and that is pretty much what needs to happen for this offense to function properly. Like, Quinn, he's improved in a lot of things, but the two things he does that make Sark's offense work, that Sark knows how to scheme around, are be nails on the throws around the line of scrimmage, on screens and swings and whatnot, and then nailing those intermediate routes underneath the deep posts that usually teams will stay over the top of the post.
Yeah.
And those intermediate routes are always open for Texas. Georgia covered them up better than most any team I've seen, but they were still mostly open. If he does that, then it's just business as normal. If he has lost that dimension to his game because he's just not comfortable consistently stepping up, then this offense, it's like a monkey wrench in the gears, and this offense is not going to work properly. And they still could probably beat Vanderbilt, but there's going to be some big questions for Sark about like, why is this not happening and how long can I put up with this?
Yeah, I think that's good advice. We've got some X's and O's, some perspective, some technical perspective, some vibes. For me, the answer is he needs to wear his lucky socks. That will take care of most of it. He didn't wear them.
Does not sound like a small answer.
Just saying. Hey, Justin, I don't know if you know this, but the University of Texas recruits student athletes to play at the University of Texas. Would you like to give us an update on how that scene is going and talk to us about what Texas is looking for as they're trying to close out a top 3 class to finish?
We're like almost 5 weeks. It's virtually 6 weeks from National Signing Day. It's not as far as you think. Joe and I are actually already working on prep for that first week in December. It's right around the corner. You know, people think, they've lost in front of all those recruits against Georgia. The world is ending. Well, for fans, yeah, maybe, but not for players. You know, it's funny because, you know, we talked to so many of those guys after the game, and not one of them talked about the win or loss. They talked about the environment, the experience, the atmosphere, which was exactly what they needed. You know, what fans don't understand is that high school kids don't view it week to week. They don't hold that win or loss on their heart or on their shoulder that whole time. They don't see a team getting beat necessarily. They see opportunity. Like Javian Osborne thinks, you know, if I ran the ball and I could just go to the outside, I could pop that. I could go up the field. That's his thought watching that game. John Turntine thinks they are that close and that he can be that final piece. That's the 5-star offensive tackle out of North Crowley. That's kind of how that works. They want these opportunities. Sometimes you're going to get beat in front of a lot of recruits. That's part of it. A lot of this team was part of that group. They were in the stands when Texas lost to Alabama in 2022 at home. A lot of these guys on the roster were there. And so overall, it doesn't affect much. Texas is still going to sign a top 5 class. They're still going to nail this thing. They've got to finish strong, though. They've got to add another corner. They'd like to add another safety. They'd like to add another linebacker. They need at least 2 more defensive linemen, possibly 3. They'd like to add another edge. Javian Hilson came in for his trip against Georgia, and I think they were expecting some stuff from him. But at the end of the day, he turned around and now he's going to visit Texas A&M this weekend. So I believe he's doing his due diligence. I think A&M is trying to push him late there as well. They'd always kind of been in the recruitment, but he's going to be on campus there. And so that's one to watch. I still like where Texas is with Hilson a lot. I think he would be incredible with Lance Jackson, Smith Orogbo. And then an update on Zealous Hicks from AR. He asked us, hey, look, Zealous Hicks is a ball player. The question is probably about reclassifying. We will know more about that in early December. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he does, but we don't know that for sure. A lot of stuff has to happen for that to be the case. But I believe Zealous Hicks, that's what they're going to try to do. We just don't know how it's going to go about just yet. So that's something to reserve that question for early December. Riley Pettijohn, let me tell you something. If there was one guy that you wanted to make an impression on, I know Justice Terry was in Austin and some of those big names. Look, Riley Pettijohn would be the perfect third piece of linebacker for this 2025 class. And he loves Texas. He's committed to Ohio State right now. He came in with his entire family, including his brothers, who are also going to be recruits in a few years. Because like Paul said, Texas does like to recruit student athletes. That family is full of prospects. And so for Riley, I think it was big that he was on campus. I think it's big that he still talks to Texas. I think Johnny Nansen is trying to make up slack. Look, Jeff Choate was perfect in that role early on when they built that relationship. And when Mr. Choate took his services to Nevada, I've learned you got to say it a certain way.
Tomata.
Yeah.
Nevada.
Nevada is what I've been told is the proper way to say that in East Texas. Jeff Choate had done such a great job. I think Nansen's trying to make up a little bit on that one and just stay diligent, essentially. And so, that's your recruiting update for your Friday morning. You'll see much more on the recruiting humidor here in just a bit at InsideTexas.com. But back to you, Paul.
Yeah, well, we want to talk about a touchdown maker and a mover and shaker. Her name is Laura Baker. You can reach her at 512-784-0505. She is your real estate expert. She is a Longhorn alum. She's a diehard. She's one of these people that travels to every away game. She's at every home game 3 hours early, and she brings that same level of enthusiasm, diligence, and preparation to selling your house. She's a member of the elite Andy Allen team for Keller Williams. If you're in the Centex area, give her a call, 512-784-0505. Friend of the show, make her your friend as well. She'll help you out.
She has pretty good seats.
She has what?
She has pretty good seats, her season tickets.
Yeah, one of the nice side effects of being one of the nice benefits of being one of her clients, as Ian is that occasionally she'll give you some tickets to a University of Texas game, right, Ian?
Yeah, I got access to the Terrace Lounge, which was essential in that Mississippi State game.
It was
Really
because
good, Billy Ray.
you were pigging out on the buffet when we needed some info.
Yes. I'm still not. I thought I was pretty just quickly reacclimated to Texas from Michigan until I was sitting up in those seats in the sun for a couple hours, and then I was like, I'm not totally there yet. I need to go get one of those. They had this cocktail that was like, it was like a spiked Arnold Palmer or something. It was delicious. I had to take a break. I came back refreshed.
I love a good Arnold Palmer, and after some recent information was revealed about him recently, I have even more respect for Mr. Palmer. All right, Ian, we're going to get a case of the Pavia tomorrow. I don't know if your kids have ever gotten the Pavia or your dogs, but it is a creeping disease that eventually causes you to lose, and you're not sure how by the end of the game. You just know that this Pavia kept hammering away. And you look up at the scoreboard, and somehow by hook or by crook, the guy's got a W by his name. We need
a rhyming jar for you today, Paul.
Thank you. We did an extensive deep dive on Diego Pavia yesterday, and that is me and Ian. I highly recommend you guys go watch it if you want to learn about the Vanderbilt offense and how to stop the option. For those of you who are old salts, stopping the option seems intuitive and obvious, but if you're a millennial or younger, the option is a mystery. And I'll say to the point that I went to a high school football game here locally to watch a couple of teams. And my son and I were sitting in the stands, and a teenager behind us, the team that we were playing, ran the option. And the teenager behind us opined, all these sideways passes have to be illegal, bro. That was his take on the option.
Wow.
So that gives you some idea of the level of familiarity of the youngsters. So Ian and I give you a deep dive on that. But if we want to give them a shallow dive, Ian, how the hell do we slow down Diego Pavia?
I got to be option sound. Everybody needs to know their assignment on every play. You can't have too many plays where guys don't know if am I taking the inside run? Do I have the quarterback? Do I have to be the pitch player? You have just a couple plays where somebody doesn't know their job. One guy doesn't know his job, and you get into trouble. And then they start moving, and everybody starts to doubt is sown across the team. Maybe somebody stops trusting somebody else to do their job, and they try to do their job for them.
Yep.
And then they're the one who's the blowing it. You just have to be very disciplined and option sound on every play, or close to every play, and force Vanderbilt to actually out execute you. A lot of times these option teams, even like an Urban Meyer spread option team or a Chip Kelly spread option team, if you could actually line up and do your job as you're supposed to, their offenses could totally dry up. It's just that teams struggle to do that. And Vanderbilt has considerably less talent than either of those squads. So, although I think Pavia would probably have played for some of the better Chip Kelly and Urban Meyer teams too. If they are disciplined and they know their jobs, that should be all she wrote.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we kind of get into this and expound upon this on the deep dive, which we, again, encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Go watch that deep dive that Ian and I do to dissect it. We even got video, we got diagrams, we get into it. Vanderbilt's option and all their run game is all just a big disguise and a bunch of eye candy because they average 4 yards a carry. It's all to set up their passing game, which is actually their most efficient and dangerous part of their offense. 4 yards a carry, 9 yards per pass attempt. So the divorce between those two things tells you what one is trying to do to set up the other. But it's not exactly like you can roll out a dime defense and play prevent and the option will gouge you just enough to hurt you. So that's the thing about Vanderbilt and Pavia specifically that I think is important. We also talk about how their offensive coordinator, Tim Beck, and their tight end, his main target, Eli Stowers, is absolutely vital. One thing that I would offer to add to Ian's commentary is, aside from being option and assignment sound, you got to trust your cornerbacks to be able to man up on their receivers outside. And I mean that in both senses of the phrase man up. So, Justin, any thoughts on slowing Diego, or are you over there getting recruiting goodness?
I'm doing a little bit of both, but I will say this. Joe asked me on the live a few days, or one of the videos we did a few days ago. He asked me about the Diego Pavia favorite club, being the president of his fan club. And I said, no. I said, Paul was actually the first one to bring him to our attention. And I think we talked about this guy in like February or March when we were looking at like the SEC quarterbacks from a distance, and you had been adamant about this guy. So, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a tough battle. This kid is exactly who you thought he was. He is an Aztec warrior. He is a freaking phenomenal kid, even better football player, and he's going to will Vanderbilt to stay in this game. How much that maintains it's hard to say, but Pavia is the guy. You have been biggest champion of this kid for a long time. I'm the VP of the fan club. I came in late. If you're the train, I'm the noisy horn. And yeah, I'm actually excited to watch this guy play because he is a dude, but I'm also ready to see Anthony Hill and Leona Lafau destroy the gap. I'm ready for them to be sound, just discipline-wise, like Ian was talking about, because these guys can burn you if you're not paying attention. And, dude, they're going to be ready. Even the netting, they put up some netting in the stadium in Vanderbilt just in case.
I think that's fake.
I wonder if that's a little bit of an internet hoax or if that really –
No, I know. It was.
Right.
I think it was in front of the visitor section, and people were like, well, it was a joke at Texas for throwing bottles.
They're concerned that Texas fans are going to charge the field, since we'll probably be about half the fans there in attendance. The thing about Pavia is when he's not playing your team, you absolutely love him and his will to win. When he's playing your team, I assure you guys, you're going to hate him because he's chirpy, he's chippy. If he throws a pick, he's going to go pick up and body slam the defensive back that he threw it to. He's going to try to fight you. This guy wants to win, and when you're playing him, you hate him. The minute you're done with the game, you can't wait to watch him again.
The essence of toughness.
He is a tough fella, wrestler, man. Wrestlers are built different. All right, gentlemen, any overarching thoughts that we need to discuss before we go on?
I have a wrestling question that's related to football in general. You ready?
Yes.
I was talking to my co-coach in flag football the other day, and he was complaining about some of the recent targeting calls we've seen, including some of the ones called on Georgia.
Oh, I thought you meant in flag football, because Justin's son has a problem with that.
No, it's not coming to that.
Aggressive little tyke.
We may need to teach targeting in the championship if we make it. But anyway, he was saying that the perfect form tackle these days is the double leg wrestling takedown. They're essentially the same thing. And he was saying that on the double leg wrestling takedown, you put your head down to make a sound tackle. So he's like, if you put your head down to do that and you incur targeting, this is BS. This is ruining the game. I've heard other older people are like, hey, putting your head down when you're targeting, putting your head down to tackle is the wrong way to tackle. No one should be doing that. And it seems like there's a divide here.
So I think the divide is, you're saying head down.
Yeah.
It's the angle of the head.
You level change, but your face is always up and you're always like that. So you're never doing like that and leading with the crown of your helmet, which is insane. You don't want to do that. It's how you could break your spine in addition to targeting. But
if you're lunging for the double leg, your head is probably down.
Your face is up. Your face is always up.
Chin's always up.
Oh yeah. You're not ducking your head or burrowing. Or if they're instructing people to put their head down, because one of the reasons is you can get stiff armed into the mat. just like on a football field, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But if they are instructing that, all you do is tell them to lift their head on a football field. But yeah, wrestling is an amazing preparation for football. And there's a reason that, speaking of recruiting, Justin, if you have a profile as a really good basketball player or a really good wrestler, in addition to your football acumen, that's always a big plus in the checkbox of being a recruit. Is that fair, Justin?
Dude, nothing makes these college coaches happier than the multi-sport recruit. And if you can excel at any of these things, look, basketball to me, if you can excel on that floor, it translates in almost every other sport possible.
And I'll say this: if you've ever done grappling, it's the hardest sport that you can do. Grappling and boxing are the only two things that are harder than football. And if you're a wrestler and you can deal with that grind, football feels like a run through the daisies. It's just everything becomes easier if you can wrestle.
No, it does. Go ahead, Ian.
I have a theory that part of the reason why Oklahoma, Kansas, and so a lot of those Big Ten Midwestern states often seem to punch above their weight with like linemen and linebackers is because those kids dual sport wrestling in the summer. Whereas like in the South, it's actually usually track and field or baseball.
Or 7-on-7.
Or 7-on-7. And I think that's why like Oklahoma is just routinely has these like really tough country kids, and they often have the wrestling background. The same for like the famous Kansas State teams. It'd be like, how is this walk-on fullback or linebacker so freaking good? And you look at his background, and almost invariably he's a wrestling champ or something.
Look how many wrestlers, offensive linemen that come out of Iowa. They come out of Nebraska. I think that was probably some of the guys Tom Osborne was recruiting at length back then. Those guys that can play multiple sports are incredible. But if you can wrestle, and that's rare that we see that much in Texas. There's some of that. What was that recruit? There's a recruit that Lucas Lovejoy, Peyton Pierce, linebacker, was a high 4-star, low 5-star last year or two years ago. He signed with Ohio State. He's in Columbus. He was a big-time wrestler. And you could see it playing linebacker felt like it was easier for him than actually wrestling. And so those dual sport guys are incredible. What's funny is Lucas Lovejoy, the same school, Dalen McCutcheon, 2025 wide receiver that's committed to Texas. When I went and saw him a couple weeks ago, they have two twins playing on defense that are actually committed to Ivy League lacrosse teams. And it's just incredible how much the multi-sport dimension just manufactures great athletes in so many levels. But, man, with wrestling and boxing, I think Paul's right. If you can do those two things, football seems a little bit easier, just as guys like Ed Too Tall Jones.
Agreed. All right, gentlemen. Comes to the part of the show that we've all been waiting for and also dreading if people hold us to our score predictions. All right, we're going to lead off with Eric and Aline. Anyone want to attempt an imitation? Should I just read it off?
Just read it off.
All right. Eric says Texas will win 31-17 over the mighty Commodores of Vanderbilt. I believe the line is 18.5 right now, for those of you who are counting that at home. I don't know if we've had a big line shift or people have weighed in, but that's what I saw last time I looked.
Yeah, sorry, what was it again? What was the line?
18.5.
18.5. What's your impression of that, Ian?
I don't love it because I don't know if Texas is going to have a lot of effective possessions.
And that leads to Ian's score.
I had 28-9, which is a cover, right?
That would be a cover by a half.
That would be barely a cover.
Barely a cover. I think that Vanderbilt is going to struggle to put points on the board, but I would not be surprised if they're able to sustain a few drives. And I would also not be surprised if the Texas offense is still a little bit rusty to start. We'll see. We'll see. Ideally, Ewers would come out and hit a couple big throws, and then this game would just be over quickly, and we could put to rest all the fretting about his play the last couple of weeks. But I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure that it's going to come together so easily. And so that's what I was thinking in that score prediction.
Yep. Vanderbilt's got a lot of clock killers, and that is their whole approach. They want to limit your possessions. They want to control the ball. And ultimately, they want to play a 10-possession total game. You know, between both teams. If you guys have ever watched Army and Navy, when their offense is humming, sometimes the other team, if Army starts with the ball, they'll get 2 possessions in the first half if Army's controlling the ball and kicking butt. And Vanderbilt aspires to emulate that. Justin, I think you envision this game as being a little nip and tuck. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I got a little bit closer. I think Vanderbilt's able to move the ball. I just don't think they're going to be able to score touchdowns. I think they're going to have to kick field goals. And in that regard, I think on the other side, I think this is going to be a big game for Ryan Wingo and Gunnar Helm. I think these two guys, there's a lot in play right now. I think both had incredible practices this week. As we talked about at Inside Texas last night, we expect Ryan Wingo to make his first start. And what way to get Quinn Ewers back on the saddle than his trusty horse, his steed, his tight end, and that's Gunnar Helm. That is the ultimate safety valve. And so, it's in Nashville. I think those nerds in Vanderbilt are going to be extremely rowdy. How rowdy, I don't know. I mean, there might be a curfew. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they party. I know how they do it in Nashville, but I'm not sure how they do it at Vanderbilt. But anyways, it's gonna. I think these are two good teams. I think Vanderbilt's a good team. I think like you said, Paul, they're gonna hold the ball. They're gonna chew clock. They're gonna try to keep Texas offense off the field. The longer the defense is on the field, we've seen that's where Texas can come up with a heel. And so at the end of the day, I think it's going to be closer. But I do think Vanderbilt's going to be able to move the ball. I just don't think they're going to score touchdowns. It's going to be one of those PK bend don't break type things. They're going to kick field goals, and I think Texas is able with their athletes just to go over the top with them a few times. I would love to see a run game. I would love to see a semblance of a run game. You want to help your quarterback? Run the dang ball. There's nothing in the world that makes a quarterback happier than a tailback that can scoot with the ball. And it really does pull, like with Kirby Smart last weekend, you have to keep the defense honest. And if you don't, they will come at you and it won't be good. And so don't get caught in a close game in Nashville, guys. You got to get in there. You got to get out of there. You got to get ready for that bye week. You got to get some guys healthy. And then you got to get prepared for Kentucky, for Florida, and Texas A&M.
I have a couple thoughts on that real quick. I think we could see a good Jaden Blue game. He looked better against Georgia and just movement-wise. I think he's healthier, in a better place physically. And I think that this would be the week that – isn't it Wisner like questionable or out?
No, he's probable, I think, is what the
he's probable? Okay, well, maybe –
probable. I mean, Wisner's playing. I mean –
okay, well, maybe we'll see a lot of Wisner then instead.
The biggest thing about Blue is he needs carry. He didn't have a carry last week. He had 7 targets out of the backfield. And I don't think that's going to be the offensive game plan it was Wisner had 7 targets. Blue had 7 targets. I don't think that's going to be the game plan going into Nashville. 14 targets for your check down guys out of the backfield. Let's hope not.
Hopefully not. But this team is built to be quarterback driven.
Yeah.
So that ultimately is how this needs to go if they're going to compete in the playoffs.
That, and you're going to have to run the ball because defenses are just going to play back this entire time.
They're not really playing back right now, though. So
they were against Georgia.
Go ahead, Paul.
Ryan Nelson in the chat says, Vandy is basically a military academy with better athletes. Clark Lee reads Art of War every night before bed. It's good.
I think Ian reads that to his kids, right? Like, here's your nighttime lullabies.
I should start reading that to my oldest, especially
Chapter
with the
4
playoffs coming up.
Yeah, flag football can get dicey. Bryson Daly for Army is basically a 230-pound Diego Pavia, so with a little less passing ability.
You know what you can tell on Vanderbilt's roster? There are a lot of kids from Texas.
A ton.
And most of them are from Highland Park, Austin private schools, and Houston private schools.
It checks out.
What's your score prediction, Paul? We've gone 2 hours. What's yours?
Let's get to that. Let's get to the correct score prediction. I'm tired of this amateur hour nonsense.
Here we go.
I've got Texas winning 35-17. Justin, for those of you who are joining us without a visual medium, he said 27-20. He never actually said his score. I'm saying 35-17. Why am I saying that? I don't know. I'm just eyeballing it. And I think that's about right. I'm not sure we're going to kick a bunch of field goals. I feel like we should be able to move the ball. I feel like we could even, get a field position turnover, even though Vanderbilt has not turned it over to date. But I think there's some things that we can do outside that are different from what any opponent has played. Alabama, for those who have watched them, they're a little insecure about their secondary. And some of that is the reason they were not assignment sound, either stopping the run or the pass. Our secondary is much smarter, much more experienced than Alabama. And we've got 2 lockdown corners that we trust quite a bit. I think we're going to tell those 2 lockdown corners to take away Vanderbilt's receivers. And then the other 9 are going to focus on stopping that run game. And I think that's going to be a pretty effective formula for slowing Vanderbilt down and at least preventing them from having big plays over the top. So
it's going to be a big test for Jelani McDonald.
Big test for Jelani McDonald. Big test for Anthony Hill. Big test for linebackers. Be having discipline with their eyes, not getting caught up in backfield candy, not trying to be heroes. The option is built around the idea of suckering you into trying to be a hero, and then the ball goes somewhere else, and then you're left standing around and you don't look too smart. So that is my prediction. Those are our fearless predictions. So we've got some folks in the chat saying 35-13. That sounds plausible too. I think we'd all like that. I think we'd take a 22-point win, wouldn't we, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we would.
It's a lot better than what Alabama did in Nashville a few weeks ago.
That's exactly right. And hey, this Vanderbilt team's got some ceiling to it. It's got a little floor as well. The floor is pretty low. They lost to Georgia State, but they've also upset Virginia Tech. Of course, Alabama in the greatest win in school history. They basically kind of out-physicaled Kentucky, which was a surprising result. Yeah. And they lost to Missouri, a pretty flawed Missouri team, granted, but they lost to Missouri in overtime. So this is a football team, and Diego Pavia and some other helpers have instilled with them.
Cedric Alexander can scoot, guys. It ain't just Pavia either. That running back can go.
Cedric Alexander, Austin LBJ product. So, folks.
Jamal Finner special.
There you go. So, folks, this has been the Roundtable.
No.
Go ahead, Ian.
Oh, you got the finger point.
I got to get my OU prediction in.
All right, let's do the actually OU prediction from Ian Boyd.
Well, they're going to get run. Ole Miss is coming off a bye. They're a much better team.
Who are they playing this week?
Ole Miss really needs to win this game.
Yes.
And they're coming off a bye, and they're at home.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to destroy Oklahoma. That's going to be at 12 o'clock. I believe that's 11 our time.
I like that Ian's pretending he doesn't know the exact time that OU gets detonated because he's got that set on.
I was pretty sure, and then I looked and I read the wrong time for the different game of there, so I hesitated. For me, it's been a great start to my Saturdays this year. Like last week, I'm like, oh yeah, Oklahoma's on, and I had already missed. It was like already 14-0 South Carolina.
Okay, they're changing to Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, I was going to say
change in their offense though.
Jackson Arnold is the quarterback of the future, Ian.
Yeah, we're back on that, huh? I think they're going to go back to the offense that they actually practiced and installed in the offseason. And it's not going to matter because they don't have wide receivers. So they're going to get smoked.
Oh, man. Sugar Poppy.
Formerly Sugar Daddy says, I always need a cigarette after Ian talks about OU. Understood.
That's the best reply I've seen in a long time, Sugar Father.
Thank you for the super chat. Ian won't be able to sleep tonight waiting for the OU game to start. It's true. It's like Christmas for him. Finally, the empire is falling.
Yeah.
And Ian has correctly called its fall one of the last 10 years.
I'm up on a hill watching the Visigoths sack Rome with a thing of popcorn.
Man, the worst thing that could happen is Oklahoma could fire Venables and hire Indiana's coach.
Signetti?
Doesn't feel like an OU move.
He is a confident dude, guys.
Yeah, well, Google him.
He's going to get paid in December somewhere.
I think he'll be at Indiana for a little while. We'll see.
You think so?
Yeah, we'll see about that. But nonetheless, we appreciate y'all for joining us in this
Thank
focused, concentrated talk, along with a lot of meandering. I'm Paul Wadlington. That guy's Justin Wells. That gentleman smiling, thinking about OU getting whipped, is Ian Boyd.
Look at this last comment. Look at this last comment, Justin. Do you want to try to earn us $20 real quick?
Homer. Sugar Pappy says, if Justin knows who the Visigoths are, I'll super chat $20. Justin,
that's a lot of espresso.
Okay, I know. Visigoths, like is that like Harry Potter or something? Like I don't know what that is, man. I see goths, and so I think darkness.
Oh, yeah, you're thinking of like a girl that's sad that cuts on herself. No, not those kind of goths. The Visigoths were one of the many groups of barbarians surrounding the Roman Empire.
Okay.
They came mostly from the upper part of, I think, Germany. And when Rome was weakening, the Goths were one of the groups that went through and sacked the empire, that sacked Rome and set it on fire and looted and pillaged, etc.
So they were like one of the – okay, I got you. They were like higher thugs in a sense. Boom. A for
effort, brother. $10 super chat. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be honest when I don't know. And man,
I
thought it was like a Lord of the Rings thing or something, like, because I don't know that either.
You thought they were the ring rats. I get it. Hey, you got $10 out just for giving.
I know, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much, Sugar Father. I think I do appreciate that.
We do appreciate that. We appreciate all y'all. This has been the IT Roundtable. Hook 'em. Y'all take care.
Ring.